My question is just like about children and people speaking things over children. So my nephew, my sister and I, we we're pretty much on the same page about like even though like she's not in church yet, we're pretty much on the same page about like, you know, how we want him to be raised and everything like that. But then like we both have an issue where like when we're out in public or like even family members or things, they speak things onto my nephew. And so I've had issues where like she wants to know like how do you respond or how do you approach certain things, because you know I couldn't tell her because I've had situations where like I've had like verbal altercations with people for like saying things about my nephew, like just strangers or like even like a relative was like, oh, I'm gonna start calling him Tasmanian devil, and I said, no, you're not. You're not gonna call him anything that's reference to a devil. Right. And so like, me personally, like I just I go left. Sure. So sure. I really didn't know what to tell her because that's something that I take very seriously because it happened to me. Like people were speaking things onto me when I was younger and I didn't understand it and it came to pass. So that's just something that I don't want to happen. So like what do you do when, especially like a stranger who just saying like crazy stuff about a child and he can't vouch for himself, he can't, you know, rebuke it himself. So like how do you approach people?
Well, first of all, if a stranger is saying something, and you with your child, I will ignore it because I would have to take it as if somebody said something strange to me. But now if they keep saying it, okay, let me get spiritual because I was about to get in the flesh. That devil's about to park. I was about to get in the flesh. So let me keep it spiritual. Let me keep it spiritual. Usually, if that happens, you just ignore it. You know, a stranger doing it because, you know, you don't want to get in your flesh and then start a confrontation, and one thing can lead to another. Now, if it's a relative saying that, you have all right to say, no, don't call them that. You know, that's not their name, or especially something as degrading, and you know, that's even like you have to be careful with people calling people these certain nicknames. You know, I don't have a problem with certain things, but certain nicknames. You know, like, hey, piggy. Hey, doggy. And believe it or not, little names like that, you know, a little child don't know nothing, but then they grow up with some complex. Hey, fatty. Hey, big nose. And all of that kind of stuff. So you have to be careful with all that kind of talking, period, them little nicknames and all that kind of stuff. But if it's a relative saying something like Tasmanian devil, like, oh, hey, don't say that. That's not their name, and don't say it. If you're going to say something good. Say, hey, blessed, or hey, smart, or hey, intelligent, hey, beautiful, something. You don't say that, and you have every right to say that. Don't call them that. Don't say that.
Well, you know, one thing I have done, you know, when anybody said, first of all, I tell people all the time, be like a duck and roll it off, you know, don't roll it. Because if you give somebody, if you give them too much of play, they will always know how to push your button. Yeah. And you never want to show the weakness of yourself. Because when you let somebody know the weakness of you, believe me, they'll play you like a joker. Yeah. They'll always say something to antagonize you to make you flare up. But what you do with your nephew, because he's an intelligent boy, I met him, he's a very intelligent boy. You look at him in his face and you continue to tell him how gorgeous he is, how smart he is. Yeah. He would get that confident in him. He don't make it what anybody said because he know he loved. Right. And you just look at him and say, baby, you got it going on. You know, whatever, it build his confidence up. So when he go to school and somebody try to bully, you know, he'll know how to handle himself now. But you know, people don't know how to deal with these complexes as you growing up. Yeah. But if you had somebody in your corner to back you up and say, you know what, I got this. You know, I'm not a dummy. You know, my mama didn't make no dummy. You know, then you know how to counteract. But if you never counteract that issue, then they won't know how to deal with it. But you have to constantly remind that person, you are beautiful. You know what I mean? My kids can go through things in life. They can have a cut on their face. I said, girl, you look so good. Please, you got a pretty face. You all right. Go on, move on. And then they won't be sitting worried about the spot on their face. Like, oh, I got a spot. You ain't worried about the spot because I just said you pretty, so you ain't worried about it no more. You know, you just have to learn how to rub it off. And I know you can't. You know, we can't protect our kids from everything. We know that, but we can prepare them for things that's common in every world. Yeah. It don't make the way you at. Because people are just, you know, you just be surprised. Some people just mean.
Sure.
They are just mean. Yeah. And people are, and you be amazed. It's more people that's unhappy than happy.
Exactly.
And when you count on people that's unhappy, their job is to make you unhappy. So in other words, I'm not satisfied with my life, so I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna hurt somebody else. I'm gonna talk about your mama, talk about your dad, because they ain't got no mama, they ain't got no daddy. And nobody don't love me, so I'm gonna make sure nobody love on you. You got mean people, and you cannot, you know, we can't put the mean people on an island and get rid of them because they just everywhere, you know. But you know, once you get that hang of that, you always counteract it by making him have confidence. Sure. You know, so when anybody comes against him, like, boo you ain't all that serious. Yeah. You know.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Any more questions? Come on down.